Greetings, beloved. You know, as a preacher, sometimes you think about things after you preach a sermon. Your sermons kind of linger with you, and the gospel text just lingers with you for whatever reason. This particular Sunday, we talked about the 10 lepers that were healed by Jesus. And one of them, a Samaritan leper, turned around and came back because he could not be allowed in the temple because he was a Samaritan. I began to think and reflect on the church a little bit and how we do that, how we have excluded people throughout history. All the times we argue over who's in and who's out. My mother and I were talking one time, and she asked, "So what are you going to preach on this Sunday? Do you have your sermon figured out?" And I said, yeah, and I forget which Sunday it was, but I said, it's basically about Jesus going to the outcasts and how outcasts are excluded. She said, you preach on that a lot. And I said, well, it is the Gospel of Luke, but I think it's pretty much every gospel. And I think sometimes we've sanitized that and ignored that. But Christ comes to widen God's reach and to reach out to those on the margins to where there is no margins. It's a sermon I could preach almost every single Sunday, and sometimes I think maybe I should in some way. This church is a church that has constantly pushed the boundaries. Some of us more willing to do that than others. But nevertheless, I would say as a church, it's what we've done. We have a long history of that. It's who we are. It's in our DNA. But yet we still need to be reminded of that because God is calling us to go even further. I think sometimes we as Episcopalians, and probably it's not unique unto us, we get in that trap of thinking that God and church are the same. Now, there's a difference between God and God's people. We don't always act like God. God's mercy, God's compassion, God's forgiveness, God's grace are way beyond what we will ever achieve. But yet it's something we should strive for. This church is a special place. My hope and my prayer is that we don't take that for granted, that we realize just how special this place is, and that we respond accordingly, taking care of it, nurturing that, being bold in our faith. Trust me, God's got us and has amazing things planned for this church. I'm fully convinced of that. My hope is that I see you this Sunday and we continue to grow and to learn together to be God's people. See you Sunday.